If you're Catholic or Lutheran, you're not gonna like this next clip.
He writes in 1525, a treatise called Against the Robbing and Murdering Hordes of Peasants. And in there, he is absolutely ruthless.
Well, you can take the Catholic out of Catholicism, but you can't take the Catholicism out of the Catholic.
He encourages the peasants en masse. He says, therefore, let everyone who can smite secretly or openly, remembering that nothing can be more poisonous, hurtful, or devilish than a rebel. It is just as one must a mad dog. If you do not strike him, he will strike you and a whole land with you. So, if you're not in the army, go your peasant neighbor. That's what he's actually telling you to do.
Yeah, that's a straight up lie. He did not encourage everyone to carry out these acts. The peasants revolted at the beginning. Luther sympathized with them, but then later he came down pretty hard on them and used Augustinian philosophy and theology that Catholics, by the way, used as well to justify their crusades against so-called heretics. Remember Pope Martin V? Yeah, he did the same thing to the Hussites and the Waldensians. Have you guys forgotten all of this? It was all based on Augustine, who had wrote that we should preempt suppression of heresy by fining heretics, banishing heretics, imprisoning heretics. While Augustine didn't call for violence, he laid the groundwork for later justification of violence against those who the church labeled as heretics. Martin Luther did not call for just anybody to rise up and do these things to the peasants. This was Martin Luther's way of encouraging and giving a theological justification for the elites to do what they did to suppress the rebellion. If you don't think Catholics damned people to hell because they would not submit to Rome, well, you don't know church history. And I'm kind of surprised because I thought the guy in this video was kind of a history buff. But I'm not really surprised he would lie about history. Honestly, it's not a shock.
And he explains. He says to the rulers that they should go on unconcerned with a good conscience lay about them as long as their hearts still beat. And he says it's to their advantage that the peasants have a bad conscience and an unjust cause, and that any peasant who is killed is lost in body and soul and is eternally the devil's. Very clear, right? Luther's views on conscience permit him to take the view that the people who disagree with him, who rebelled not against the church but against the German lords and secular leaders, deserve to all just be killed en masse and sent to hell.
Oh, I get it. They were going specifically against Martin Luther. The peasants rose up in revolt against Martin Luther. This guy, the peasants rose up in rebellion against the civil authorities. By the way, it is not justified to unalive people en masse if they rebel against the church. Do you hear him? He's justifying the atrocities committed by the Catholic Church against good Christian people, civil authorities. They have just as much divine authority as the church does. Right? So all Luther was doing was telling the civil authorities, go ahead and do what you got to do to suppress this rebellion. Luther's Catholicism was showing. He never really left. You guys kicked him out. He's just acting the way a pope would. That's all.